haunted playground.
Okay. I wanted to do another video about something that I struggle with. It's called Alexithymia. I've heard it pronounced Alexithymia, but I'm going to go with Alexithymia. Um, what did it? Let me. I've recently learned about it in the last. Wow, it's probably been 6 months now, maybe seven. Um, I started looking into the typology stuff and then got into objective personality. And during that process and trying to look inside my brain and what's going on with emotions and feelings and all that, it became apparent to me that I don't experience feelings and emotions the same way that most people do. I have this thing called alexithymia, which I guess I guess it's easier for me if I explain how I experience it, what my experience is like. Um, I guess you would call it a condition, alexithymia. And there's two versions of it where if some traumatic event happens to you sometime in your life and it affects you in a particular way, and then from that moment on, and so that's like called state alexithymia. But then there's trait alexithymia, which is different, where I guess you're just sort of born with it. And I'm not sure. I don't remember a time when I let me explain what it is, but I don't remember a time before, like, where I experienced emotions like everyone else. So it could be the case that I did at one point, but I just don't remember, or maybe I just don't remember because I never did. But so how I see it is, my body produces chemicals just like everybody else. So happy drugs, stress, whatever. Um, so if you're feeling sad or stressed or happy or whatever, and your body like gives you a jolt of these chemicals, and then maybe you have tightness if you're feeling stress or anger, sweaty, tightness of your muscles, racing heart. I think I said tightness twice. I'm trying to think of all the things. Rosy cheeks or whatever, that sort of stuff, physical stuff. I get all of that, and I feel the physical sensations in the body, different emotions. From the outside, someone looking at me would recognize emotions in me. But I think somewhere along the way, for regular people who don't have this, at some point, and it probably differs for people, you sort of recognize that the emotion is happening in you, as you can identify it with a name, um, and then you save the memory of that event with a label, is how I'm thinking of it, a label of that emotion. So if someone were to talk to you about, or ask you questions about an event, or any of these memories that you have of emotional events, you or if someone, let's say for example, someone asks you, what is your favorite movie that you've ever seen? Or, yeah, let's just go with that. That's not really an emotion. Back that up. Let's The happiest moment of your life. So I would assume, since I'm not a normal person without alexithymia, I would assume a normal person would either instantly know, have access to that happiest moment. It's like, or they would have a list somehow. They can access, oh, here's the top five happiest moments, and then pick one. That one is definitely the highest, or whatever. Or maybe there's two or three. They're like, I can't really choose. For me, when I'm going through those events in my life, I'm not labeling them with happy. And then when I store the memories, there's no tag on them that says, here's the happy stuff. It is just a memory with I have a memory of the sensations that I was talking about earlier, and the details of the event, what I was thinking. I have all of that, but I don't have the word happy anywhere or any way to quickly look at my memories and find, oh, here's all the happy stuff over here, and then I don't do any of that. There's like work being done by regular people that my brain doesn't do. So when someone normally asks me for something like that, what's the happiest event of your life? I have to quickly. I always feel the pressure of I don't want to take too long, but what I have to do is I can remember a handful of highlights, big events, stuff that most people. So I can say, okay, here's 10 big events that I know happened in my life. There's no emotions to any of them. So then I say, okay, these over here are not funeral, basically, or some sad event. Something that people would identify as sad. Not sad to me, intellectually sad. I know what's sad and what's not sad, but I don't save the word sad attached to things based on a feeling that I have. So I would say, okay, here are ones over here that perhaps have something to do with happiness. Then I would look at them, in my brain. Okay, here's some weddings, here's some other things. Um, if I were to give this answer, what would the other person think? That goes through my head. Um, and I think, okay, if I were to say this, that person would think that's a reasonable answer, and I would give them that answer. It depends on how fast I want it to be. Um, I realized recently that I was doing this every time anyone asked me those kinds of questions. What's your most proudest moment in life? Um, when were you ever disappointed in yourself? What was the scariest moment? Favorite movies? I mentioned that earlier, but I sort of shied away from that for the example. But if someone asks me my favorite movie, my first thought is what type of movie, what time frame of my life. Um, I don't have that. I can think, am I talking to a fellow nerd? Okay, maybe one of the Marvel movies or Star Wars movies or something like that, and then quickly pick one that I think people would say, oh yeah, that's a good answer. It's bullshit. I'm lying. I don't save those kinds of memories. I'm quickly in the moment making some calculations, a lot of different calculations. It never occurred to me that I was doing all of this mental work every time I got those questions until I started looking at what I was doing. And then when I first started to see that that's what I was doing, I kind of assumed everyone else was doing it. They were just way faster and better than me because I'll see people answer questions like that, like so fast, or they'll take a second or two. I'm doing like mountains of work. It's like if you were doing a Google search and you had no tags on any of the data on any websites, it's like you would have to search the entire web to find what you're looking. It's like scanning every single page. It's a lot of work when people ask me those kinds of questions, and I think that probably has a lot to do with my social anxiety. Why I've avoided people because I don't have access to these memories of emotions. And a lot of times emotional questions come up. And you, I think I end up looking stupid because um, it's easy for other people and it's very difficult for me because I don't save emotional information because I don't label it in the moment like other people, or they label it at some point. I never do that. So a lot of people will ask emotional questions, and I'm still trying to process like how do I talk about this stuff because I can pretend, and really I feel like I'm lying because I don't. It's like, but then do you want to get into that conversation? Um, which a lot of times I don't. I've done some interview videos recently, and some of the earlier ones, I brought it up, Alexithymia, and explained it a little bit, and it's exhausting to talk about, and it's honestly easier to just answer in the way that the person you're talking to expects you to answer. But I like to be honest, and when I answer that, in the typical way where I don't explain it, it feels dishonest to me. So um, I guess that's all I want to say about it. I can't really think of anything else to mention. I did want to have a video about this because um, whenever I mention it, I have to explain it, and I think going forward, I'll just link to this video. Benefits of alexithymia would be that I don't ever see the need to process emotions because I don't save any of them and I don't recognize them when they happen. So I'll see people talk about like a feelings journal where they talk about their feelings and try to think about them, process them, work them out, or talk to another person about their feelings as a way to process them. The the whole concept is like I can't even process it. It in me. I understand that. I understand it in theory in other people, and I get that people would need to do that. I kind of have a hard time understanding that. It seems since I don't do it, it's difficult to understand the need in others. It's like it's like you're doing something to yourself. You're making yourself all worked up over something, but honestly, I don't know what it's like because it doesn't. I don't have that. Um, and I almost feel bad for people, but that they have to go through that work because I don't. Um, but the downside is it makes it difficult, I think, to connect with people. Um, I don't express emotions a lot. I do express them, I think, from the point of view of someone seeing me. But it probably seems like a very narrow, you know, spectrum of emotions from people around me. They would say, "Yeah, you're pretty quiet. You're pretty reserved. You're pretty, not big highs, not big lows. I'm pretty even keel." There'll be a moment where I'm a little animated of, if we're watching some movie or TV show or something, and it's a funny moment or something like that. I might laugh. Um, my appreciation of humor is very tiny compared to everyone else. I see people laughing and appreciating humor that I can get intellectually when I see it and hear it. I get that people would think that that's funny. Although sometimes I wonder if I heard it with no laugh track and no one else around, would I think that people would think it's funny? I I have my doubts, let's say. So um, so connecting with people, I see that people connect over emotions a lot of times, um, highs and lows. I see people like out at events, bars, sporting events, getting real high in the emotional spectrum, happy, positive, yelling, screaming, getting excited. I never ever experienced that. It's not something I ever feel compelled to do. Um, it's it's odd. I've always felt I was different in that regard, and I'm guessing it had to do with this. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. A lot of people with alexithymia can't even recognize emotions in other people. I don't. I don't think that I have that at all. Um, but it could be very narrow that I think happy, sad, stress. I mean, not like complex levels of emotions. Um, so that's what it is in me. That's how I experience it. When Yeah, so when I'm asked those feeling emotion type questions, it can be a little bit stressful. It's like I have to make a quick decision. Do I say something? Do I just pretend, basically? And I haven't really settled on how I'm going to do that. I mean, traditionally, I've always just faked it, basically, and I always feel awkward because I know it's taking me forever to come up with answers. Um, and I'm sure that's contributed to my social anxiety. So I will be getting my official objective personality typing on Friday, which is 3 days away, and I'll make another video at that time announcing what my official type is. And I'm trying not to think about it too much. It's going to be what it's going to be, and I will try to process it quickly. Um, if it's drastically different from what I think it is, it might take me a little bit of time to wrap my head around that. Hopefully, the explanations they give me will make sense to me. I'm guessing if they don't, I'll be sending an email just asking some questions or whatever. But I guess that's it. Please click the like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you don't miss any episodes. And if you want to leave a comment, please do, and ask me any questions. I'll be happy to try to answer them as best I can. Take care. Bye.